high care rating. Jain deemed to be university has received graded autonomy status by University Grant Commission, and the grant has been awarded based on its accreditation given by the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, that is A++, grade with a CGPA of 3.71. In the recent India Today ranking, Jain deemed to be university has scored 5th rank in the top general universities list. School of Commerce. Empowerment of students, enhancement of values, and enrichment of academics and research have been the hallmark of the School of Commerce. Jain deemed to be university for nearly 3 decades. The constant innovations nurtured in its various spheres of functioning, which includes global tie-ups such as ACCA, CIMA, CMA, CIPS, etc., and experiential learning practice like student immersion programs, entrepreneurs on training, and business simulations, among others, have categorized the growth of School of Commerce over the years. School of Commerce has a dynamic set of experienced and research-oriented faculty members who draw students from various countries towards a keen learning environment. In the most recent India Today ranking, the School of Commerce has scored the 43rd position and the 6th rank in the top 10 emerging colleges of India and the 8th rank among the top 10 colleges with the best placement records. Faculty Research Cell Samshodhana. Faculty Research Cell Samshodhana is an initiative of School of Commerce, Jain deemed to be university. It aims at enhancing the research capacity of faculty and students to guide researchers in disseminating, publishing, and applying the research outputs. The Faculty Research Cell is instrumental in organizing webinars, FDPs, MDPs, workshops, national and international conference. About the conference. At a time when the global economy continues to shudder, climate change mitigation and social justice stimulations increase in urgency and complexity. Sustainable development is high on the political agenda, but the impediments appear to be too complex to solve solidly. Sustainability has become a holistic notion that extends beyond environmental protection to economic development and social equality. It is assumed that change will come through entrepreneurs offering sustainable products, methods, and services that will sustain nature, life support systems, and communities. Sustainable entrepreneurship takes a comprehensive approach to venture creation that incorporates environmental, economic, and social sustainability components. Sustainable entrepreneurship represents a different breed of entrepreneurship. Sustainable entrepreneurships are shifting towards a more ecological, responsible environment and economy, resulting in the great opportunity for our enterprise and innovation in the industrial world. In the context, the Faculty Research Cell Samshodhana School of Commerce, Jain, deemed to be University, Bangalore, is organizing a virtual international conference on sustainable entrepreneurship, rethink, redesign, and redefine. The aim of this virtual international conference is to bring together the leading academicians, researchers, and research scholars from around the world to exchange and share their expertise and research finding on sustainable entrepreneurship. It also provides a top interdisciplinary forum for scholars, practitioners, and educators to rethink, reinvent, and redefine the most recent breakthroughs, trends, and concerns in the field of sustainable entrepreneurship, as well as real issues faced and solutions chosen. Dear participants, we are now moving towards our first session of today's conference, a keynote address session on ethics and sustainability in sustainable entrepreneurship. Success isn't about how much money you make, it's about the difference you make in people's life. Mr. Vijay, an engineering graduate from Anna University and a master's from IMT Ghaziabad, and also an alumni of Jack Welch Management Institution, USA, is a serial entrepreneur with more than 25 years of experience in managing P&L for large corporates. His last assignment Prior to donning the cap of the entrepreneur, was the head of APAC of Econ Learning, an invested company of Network 80. Mr. Vijay Krishnan is a pioneer in technology-enabled learning in India and has set up and run multiple corporate virtual universities. He has to his credit designing and implementing niche programs in filmmaking, sports management, fashion, engineering, and law. These programs are run from renowned universities in India and across the world. His passion was always in building knowledge and establishing talent to Success Group T2S was his path, ensuring that knowledge is continuously built among the growing community of students and corporates alike. After founding T2S Group, he has founded two technology companies, Rrr Tech AI, incubated in IITM with presence in Delhi and Vermont, USA, which is into AI-based asset management in education and healthcare. The products of Rrr Tech power more than 2,500 hospitals worldwide. His talent venture, Akit AX, is into technology-based consultancy service for higher education and K-12 with major focus of NEP and accreditations. It also provides consultancy services in university collaborations, both national and international. A warm welcome to you, sir, requesting you to deliver the keynote address.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Super. So, thank you, Dr. Megha, for having me here, and it is a great pleasure in being associated with Jain University. Just a brief before we get into the not so serious aspect of keynote address. I am associated with Jain University in multiple fashions for the last more than a decade. I mean, I have the good fortune of working closely with Dr. Chenraj sir, as well as Dr. Ishwaran, who is my father figure. So it makes it all the more special to be involved in an international conclave promoted by Jain University. What I thought was, instead of doing a regular keynote address where there is a list which is prepared, a script which is done, to take all of us through certain ideas and possibly, have an interactive session where we can discuss, we can ask questions, and if I could provide some answers, I will be more than happy. Otherwise, I will definitely, research and come back to you. Essentially, when you talk of ethics, okay, it starts right from the day we are able to think, individually. So there are a lot of, ethical dilemmas that we kind of have throughout our life. Okay, and when you become an entrepreneur, that becomes even more pronounced. So when you talk of an organization, when you talk of startup, okay, it kind of revolves around what is it? What is the value that it brings to the table? Why I have to start an organization? Unfortunately, when the startup boom happened, it all started and it all revolves, and to a large extent, it continues to revolve around the valuation of the company, the economic valuation of the company. How much my startup can be valued, can I have, how much I can raise fund, how many rounds of funding I can raise, and what is generally the talk is on the shareholders' value. What is the value that I bring to the shareholders? In this rigmarole, one thing which kind of has taken a back seat, and conferences like this kind of bring it to the focus, to the limelight again, is the ethics. Am I doing, okay, the valuation is there, everything is there. Am I doing something which is ethical? Am I leaving a footprint for the society, for the environment, for the future generations, which is ethical, which is sustainable? So when you talk of sustainability, in my opinion, okay, it comes from the root of sustainability is ethics, because something which I firmly believe is something which is not ethical cannot be sustainable. So I've just, can I have the next slide? What I've done is I've taken a few quotes, 4 or 5 of them. Let us understand the core behind this, the fundamental behind large organization which has withstood the test of the time. You can understand that there is one common factor, which is, they were sustainable and they were ethical. So like how I don't want to repeat the slide, it is there in front of you. Okay, it basically takes, it is not the 20 years. 20 years is kind of a figure which is given, but whatever we do in business, whatever we do in our personal life, okay, it takes a long time to build a reputation. It takes a huge amount of effort, sweat to create a niche for yourself. And one bad move in terms of ethics, in terms of taking a shortcut, it just gets ruined in possibly a couple of days' time. Okay, I don't want to take names of the companies, I don't want to take names of individuals. We have examples all over the place where the reputation which was built, there's huge companies which had multitudes of learners, multitudes of customers, who got into stuff which they were not supposed to do, okay, in terms of valuation, in terms of various other things, that they are not now spoken about in a negative way. Can I have the next slide? So this again, it is a continuation of the first slide. I mean, it always takes less time to do things right than to explain why you did it wrong. Okay, I'm just leaving these slides for your as a food for thought. Okay, because these are the basics of when we talk of ethical organization. Okay, these are the basic building blocks. Next slide, please. Okay, now this is one thing which we as student, I mean, and not only student but students in particular. Okay, at your age, which is very fantastic age to be in. Okay, you try to basically emulate negatives of others more than the positives of others. I mean, I'm not making it could sound like a sweeping statement, because this is a stage where a lot of students, they go into this mode saying that to be successful is to have money, it is to have cars, it is to have huge mansions. Okay, and you try to emulate those who are having those, or who you, in your opinion, you feel that they are in the process of getting there. Okay, without fully understanding the behind the scene, what is happening, and what are they ethical, are they actually doing the right thing. So it is always difficult to stay on the course of ethics, but it pays in the long term. Next slide. Next slide, please. Okay. So this is exactly, I mean, this is a beautiful quote. Okay, next slide, please. This is something which a lot of businesses are still to understand. Okay. So there are a lot of businesses which starts with excellent quality. I mean, in my own field, edtech, and it is always, there is a great opportunity to cut corners. So when we design programs, especially in filmmaking, when we design programs in sports management, it is, and especially when you're in a niche area that you don't have competition there. So in filmmaking, we still remain as the course content creator. We are the largest. It is very easy for us to cut corners because there is no competition. So what happens is, when you cut corners, definitely your top line improves, your bottom line improves, everything is there. Okay. But a student, let us say there is a student who is taking my course. He he does this course, does his master's or bachelor's with us. He goes out and he understands that his course, that or the content of the course that he has done, does not match up to the industry expectations when he gets outside. Even if, I've given him an advantage of a lower fees, an easy curriculum, that is forgotten very easily. What he will understand, the bottom line is, I joined your program, I spent 3 years, 2 years, okay, and the quality that you gave me has not made me competent enough to take on the challenges that my job is throwing on me. And this is the last one which I want to, this is the last point in the introduction. Okay, basically the real threat is from within. So the ethical, the competition or the collapse of lot of organization, it is basically, it started, the rot is within, and the organization crumbles because of the rot from within. Okay. Next slide, please. So this is what it is. So there is always an overlap between do well, okay, and do good. Okay. So do well, you make money, okay, and do good, you basically solve certain social problems, you solve certain environmental problems, and you become sustainable. Next slide, please. Okay. Now let us start this. Talk about ethics. There are, in my opinion, there are 4 types of organization. So you can basically have 4 types of organizations if you're starting a startup. One is amoral organization. Okay. So amoral organization is nothing but the only objective of that organization is to make money. So these are the organization which generally talks only about the shareholders' value, what the founders get, how much can we make in a particular period of time. So the entire organization revolves around creating and maintaining wealth. This organization can even be unlawful. They can possibly get into possibly showing lesser revenue, multitude of things. So anything which you throw to them, which makes money, they're glad, they accept it. The next type of an organization, the previous slides, please. The next type of an organization is legalistic. So legalistic is the big brother. It is kind of a cousin of amoral. So what they do is, okay, fine, I want money. My money is the sole objective. But then what I do is I make it legal. So I don't fudge. I will do the basic bare legal stuff which is required to be, to be correct in terms of law. They are still, they don't have anything to do with ethics. They basically, they do things legal way, and that's about it. Here also the objective, the end objective is only to make money. Okay. Then you have the responsive kind of an organization. So responsive organization, what it does is they say, fine, okay, at least we should have ethics to show to the world that, we are ethical. They, in fact, possibly practice certain ethics, certain processes, which are ethical processes in their organization. So this is kind of 50% ethical, 50% money, that kind of an organization. Okay. A lot of organizations, majority of organization comes under this responsive kind of setup. So you need to have certain stuff, you need to have certain diversity, inclusion in your organization. You need to be, you need to be seen as an organization which pays fair wages. It needs to see as an organization which is, nowadays there are a lot of ranking companies which ranks the best places to work, check attrition, and so on and so forth. This is where large chunk of organization fits in. And then you have the ethical organization. So ethical organization is something where the core of the organization revolves around ethics. So these organizations, which is very few nowadays, they come from the idea that we will become absolutely ethical, and long term, these organizations strongly believe that the the value can be created, both social, environmental, and uh, economical value can be created strongly based on the foundation of ethics. So this is where, as my young friends, okay, this is where I would love to see a lot of you, the future CEOs, okay, to have your organizations in. Next slide, please. So the essential, the foundation of having an ethical organization is, number one, prioritize doing the right thing. Your core area is, okay, I have a project, I have a project coming. Am I capable enough to take the project? Okay. So you prioritize, saying that, okay, one thing which happens in when you become an entrepreneur is you get a lot of leads, a lot of ideas. Can you prioritize what you want to do? And can you prioritize doing the right thing for yourself as the CEO, as the board, and also the right thing for your organization, the right thing for your customer? So if I do something today, I take a project today, is it the right thing? Does my customers benefit from it? So you should have an absolute clear answer that you're going the right path, you're doing the right thing. The second most important thing, which a lot of organizations try to cut corners, is paying fair wage. Okay. So, I mean, I'm really proud to say that, in the last 2 years of my COVID, none of my organizations have cut any of the employees' salary just because they are working from home. Okay. Even when the going was tough, when actually we had to tap from the reserves of the company to pay the wages and to pay our vendors, we have done it. So what happens is, when the COVID is thankfully behind us now, more or less, okay, we are reaping the benefit of that in terms of, the employee morale, number one, the stickiness of my colleagues with the company, and also the supplies. So they are more than happy to, even give their services to us at a cost which is lesser than what, they're giving to others. And the third one is always to treat our employees well. Okay. Now that involves giving them a great work-life balance, which we definitely do. We have a absolute dictum that there is no official calls which will go post 6 o'clock unless and until it is absolutely critical and SOS. So there is no late night meetings, there is no early morning meetings, there is no meetings or calls on Saturdays and Sundays. So these are the practices which I'm not claiming that only my organization does. These are the practices which a lot of organizations do. I mean, we have basically taken a leaf out of a lot of great organizations who have very successfully done this. And against the general notion that, it is the time of the working, it is the quantity which is important, not the quality. So a lot of times what happens is, you ask someone to stay back at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the night. You don't get the kind of output that you get at the peak hours. So we generally tell them that, what you can't finish in 8 hours. Okay. It could be because the burden is so high that, you cannot, humanly, it is not possible to take it in 8 hours. Otherwise, you are being lax during 8 hours. Either which is the case, there is no point in, keeping you waiting, giving a punishment, staying back late, and all those stuff. So our appraisal system does not do the day-to-day kind of a measurement. It measures your potential and your contribution over a period of time. So it is not that, there is a sword hanging every day when, you're at work. The fourth one is, be very clear that, whatever is your dues to the government, okay, pay it off properly, pay it and keep it very well documented. Okay. And think beyond the policies. So there is a leave policy. For example, there is a person who has got, let us say, a 20-day sick leave. Okay, but then he has taken it, and unfortunately, he wants another 10 days or 15 days or whatever days of another sick leave. So as an organization, we can always say, okay, boss, we are giving you 20 days eligible sick leave. The next 20 days, you're going to get a half pay or a pay cut. So can you design your policies in such a way that it is, case by case, individual, so that the organization is empathetic towards the employees, they're empathetic towards their suppliers. Okay. So these are the basic building blocks of an ethical organization. Can I have the next slide? Now, as per United Nations, these are the 4 pillars. The number 1 is the human rights. Okay. Number 2 is the standard, the labor standard, which we kind of touched upon. Okay. The third one is the environmental impact that an organization does. Okay. So there are certain companies which hugely, their methods and policies makes a huge impact on the environment. Okay. There are companies where their products or services are not does not impact the environment to that an extent, but there is an environmental impact nonetheless. So it is basically small things like, do I think before I print? Okay, how much of paper that I use, how much of electricity I use, right from the kind of the lighting that you have in your organization, the kind of air conditioning that your organization, do you use the wind power, solar power to the maximum extent possible, so on and so forth. And the fourth one is basically, don't take the shortcut route. Okay, so you go to an office, you say, okay, fine, you give me something, I'll give you a service or a product at this particular time, or I will give you at a discounted rate. So the corruption can be multitudes of things. Corruption does not mean that, it is basically you pay a cash and you get something done. Corruption is essentially everything which leads you to do things which is unethical. Okay, or you try to jump a queue, or in a bad way, okay, to jump your priority. Okay, so if let us say there is a license which you will get in 6 months, can I pay something and then get it in 1 month? I mean, basically, jumping the queue of other organizations or other individuals. The next slide, please. Next slide, please. So what is the advantage of having an ethical organization? So, I mean, we touched upon this in a previous slide. First and foremost is the improved staff model. The core idea that an entrepreneur should have is the company is nothing but the collection of employees. Okay, so company is, if someone feels that I own this company, nothing can be farther from truth. You cannot own a company. You can possibly own the stakes of the company. The company per se is the collection of employees. An institution is the collection of student and staff. Okay, it cannot be that one particular person owns this. Definitely, I mean, he will have the stake. He will be possibly the money which is generated by the organization. He could have more share. But end of the day, it is a collection of staff, and a collection of dedicated staff makes a winning team. You cannot, whatever be your reputation, whatever be your educational qualification, whatever be your personal expertise in certain things, nothing is of any use unless and until your team is there solidly behind you. The second one is it will boost definitely the reputation. So there are companies like, we talk of Tata's, for example. Okay. We talk of certain companies with a huge amount of respect. Okay. That is because their grounding, the foundation is laid on solid principles of ethics and sustainability. Okay. And the third advantage, and this is one of the major advantage in this era where there is a huge competition, is you will be able to check attrition. Number one. Number two, you will be able to attract and retain the best staff, and your customers will vouch for you. And this is is of paramount importance, because in a knowledge kind of an economy and knowledge organizations, I mean, mine is one of them. Okay, there are key people who comes with a huge amount of expertise in certain areas, and you lose them, or you is one, you cannot, if you cannot attract certain caliber, your business and your organization can collapse. So it is that important. So once you're ethical, once you do the best practices, policies, you're able to attract and you're able to retain the best staff and customers. Okay. The fourth one is there is a general goodwill. So you generally say, okay, there is a good company, Infosys is a good place to work, or Wipro is a good place to work. I'm just taking names, or TCS is a good place to work. And there are certain companies which you don't have that kind of a respect. Okay, this is a great company, but then they don't pay you well. I mean, it's a huge brand, but it is very difficult to work there. So you have, when you think about it, you will find there are companies which are big in terms of the brand, but the companies are there in both sides of the spectrum. So you have big companies who are good and people want to work with them. There are big companies where people generally don't want to work there, or the customer or the suppliers does not want to give their services there. So that is one. And the final thing is, once you have all this, the 4 points ticked, your finance definitely improves, and your funding, if you're a startup, the rounds of funding becomes much more easier. Next slide, please. So it is essentially, ethical entrepreneurship is a journey of intentionally creating a constructive organizational culture. So basically when you talk of the relationship between the organizations and the society, okay, it is changing very rapidly. The businesses are basically increasingly focusing on their impact, okay, and the contribution which they make to the world. Okay, so preparing the next generation of leaders, okay, is becoming very, very, very important. Okay, so we kind of, every day we see certain headlines, we see certain news report that, the lapses of corporate culture leading to negative results, the employees suing the company, and so on and so forth. Okay. So being mindful of ethics, okay, and intentionally creating a constructive culture during the venture formation itself, okay, we can have a critical long-term benefits. So a positive culture affects an organization's viability, okay, and success, as well as it impacts the society overall. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay. So this is kind of self-explanatory. So basically the goal here is to equip the entrepreneurs with ideas, concepts, best practices for addressing cultural considerations, okay, during the formative stages of their venture itself. Okay, so this new awareness helps realize tangible and measurable outcomes and benefits. Okay, and weaving benefits into how we form the new ventures will lead the way to kind of a renaissance, if I can use that word, in the startup world. Okay, thereby, ushering in a new and enlightened entrepreneurial era. Okay, so there was one time where everything was revolving around funding. Now, when we get into ethics, when we inculcate ethics right from the beginning, then we are trying to create a huge impact on the startup world itself. Can I have the next slide, please? Okay. So it is sustaining a this is related to the last slide, and it is a continuum of last slide. Okay, so once you have a constructive culture, Okay. And the constructive culture has to happen and has to be inculcated in the company as their DNA itself. Okay. It cannot be like, the first few years you start being, ethical, you start being, thoughtful about the sustainability of your company. And then slowly and steadily, that gets diluted. So as an ethical organization and a sustainable organization, okay, the DNA of ethics, the DNA of sustainability has to be there ongoing as a policy and as a DNA of the organization. Next slide, please. Okay. And this requires everyone, right from the CEO, from the board, from the right from your, to your the helpers in the organization, everyone. That is, I mean, you would have seen a lot of in ISO. And a lot of the ranking, you need to have the vision mission statements. Okay. Now, why we take a printout and paste all this stuff is, you go by, you pass by, you read it, and then when you read it multiple times, it becomes, somewhere the hope is that it will, what the mission and vision is, it gets ingrained into your behavior in that organization or in the institution. Okay. So number one is the awareness that, what the organization stands for. What are the ethical standards of the organization? Okay. And then you have a mindful approach, and you should have the mindful approach. I mean, it is not that, someone is, okay, there is an ethical practice in the company. Now I am forced into it that, I also should be ethical. No, that does not work. Number one is when you actually hire a talent, you have to be mindful, of course. Okay. Is he or she a right fit in terms of the core work area or the employment area? Also, is he or she a good fit into the ethical and sustainability standards or the goals of an organization? So one is the awareness. The second one is everyone should have a mindful approach embedded through every aspects and every process of the organization. Next slide, please. Okay. And the first and the last, possibly a couple of slides, this is where a lot of organizations fail. It is like, a parenting. Now you say, okay, you have an idea, you go to your father, you say, no. I mean, this is how it is. It is my way or highway. Okay. A lot of organizations, a lot of families, a lot of organizations, they desist from, letting others ask questions. Now, it is very easy for me as a CEO, as a director, to stop anyone in my organization asking questions to me, which is questions that are uncomfortable, questions that I don't know answers of, okay, or questions that possibly open up a certain deficiencies in me or the way that I run an organization. Okay, the organizations which thrive, organizations which has become big, are the organization which has got an open communication culture inside the organization. Okay. Now, this one thing is very, very difficult, especially in a hierarchical organization. Now, we are all used to, I mean, in my age, we are all used to at one point of time working in a hierarchical organization where you become a manager, then, it is your team is kind of a semi-slaves to you. Now, when the organizations have changed and now it is kind of a flat organizations, the top management, okay, I'm not talking of the new entrepreneurs, okay, the older generation where I belong, they generally don't encourage questioning. Okay. And I feel this is a cornerstone of having a great organization, is to have healthy debates, disagreement, and finally getting into an understanding, okay, this is a consensus and this is how we will take the project and organization forward. Next slide, please. So this is what I mean, this is something which I told before. Okay, so essentially you have to weave ethics into your organization, and that is where you'll find your differentiation. Next slide, please. So this is what I had to say, and in bits and pieces. Okay, I'll be more than happy to take any questions. Okay, I don't. I mean, whatever I can answer, I'll be more than happy to answer. Otherwise, you should give me time to get answers and come back to you.
Short links are being posted. Short links.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your views. I request the participants to post their questions in the question and answer icon. Dear participants, if you have any questions, you can post your questions in the question and answer icon. So we have a question. CSR is an ethics for entrepreneurs.
Okay, thank you for the question. I mean, CSR, that is a corporate social responsibility. Is that what he means?
Yes, sir.
The CSR comes in two ways. Okay, one is the CSR, when the CSR law came a few years back. Okay, there were organizations which used to do the now what we call as CSR even before that. Okay, the large organizations like us had CSR. They never called it CSR. They used to run it through their foundation. They used to do a lot of, social impact work. Now, when you talk of CSR per se as an ethics, okay, it is ethical if you do CSR not by force, by something which is, which you feel that it is close to your heart. Okay, CSR, in my opinion, is a forced ethics. A lot of organizations, they cry and do CSR because there is no other way but to do CSR. Okay, but the CSR becomes an ethics. CSR becomes sustainability when an organization, it inculcates, the CSR gets inculcated inside the organization's DNA. Then definitely yes, it is ethics. Otherwise, it is basically something that you do for a photo op and something that you do for because you're forced to do it. I hope it answers.
Oh, thank you, sir. There's one more question. Good morning, sir. It says how to decide fair remuneration to employees because it will have adverse impact on profitability.
Okay, see, this is one a chicken and egg situation, which a lot of companies, they feel that is a chicken and egg situation. I mean, I can answer this question only with my experience and how I used to manage teams when I was working, and now as an entrepreneur, how I manage. Now there are two things. One is, a fair remuneration has to happen in 2-3 ways. One is how critical that particular person is to your organization. That's number one. And what project he is going to get involved, and what is the revenue of that project, and what you feel is as his role in the revenue realization of that particular project. Okay, so there is certain amount of calculations that you make. Let us say that I'm designing a program in filmmaking, and I want to design certain, a kind of a course on direction, for example. Okay. Now I want a particular resource who can design that curriculum. So obviously he has to be from the industry. He has to be, if I'm doing a course on direction, that particular gentleman has to be, or the lady has to be from the direction. Now then I understand that, okay, the profile of that person and how much criticality, okay, of in the revenue recognition that this particular person will add. Okay. Now, once I do have that metrics in place, okay, then it is very easy for me to calculate a fair compensation for that particular person. Now, what companies do is they have that metrics, and let us say then they get into, okay, this guy, if I give him an employment, okay, or I don't give him an employment, will he get an employment elsewhere? Okay. Once you start thinking that way, okay, it is only my organization who can give him an employment. So can I cut corners? Can I say that, okay, fine, let us say that, his fair compensation is a lakh of rupees. Can I say, okay, I'll give you 75,000 rupees or 50,000 rupees just because I know that he does not have other options. Okay. Or, that is basically pushing someone to the corner. So the fair employability, every company, okay, understands what is a fair compensation that can be given. But generally the fair compensation, they try to cut corners. Okay. And when they cut corners, that will have an adverse impact on the organization. So it is not that, giving more salary has an adverse impact on the organization. What happens is you pay less, he will always feel, or she will always feel that, he is, his value is more than what is given in the organization. And ultimately what happens is he will spend much of his time in in looking out for an opportunity or another organization which pays him more. So it is better to give a good compensation. Okay. So my idea of giving compensation is I give him, let us say 5% more than what I feel that is a fair compensation, so that, he understands that, he is well taken care of. Okay. He's getting the best compensation in the market. And then his best output also will come to my organization. So the adverse impact on profitability per se will not be there. Actually, my profitability goes back when I have good employees, and the good employees are paid better than my competition. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We have another question. Sir, can you please throw some light on ESG, on future sustainability and investors' perception? Company sustainability policies have any implications on investors' investment decision?
I just want to understand what he means by ESG.
Sir, it's economic, social, and governance. Environmental, social, and governance.
Okay. Now, see, when you talk of ESG, if I may use that word itself, okay. Now, that is a core of having sustainability. I mean, you cannot have future sustainability. Sustainability is a present continuous tense. You cannot be sustainable at a future date. You have to be sustainable now to be sustainable in future. So the sustainability starts at the day when you start an organization. Okay. Now the investors, now there are two types of investors. You should understand that. One is this investors who basically value an organization solely based on the economic criteria. That is, I put an X amount of dollars today, can I get a Y amount of dollars tomorrow? So there are hardcore investors who operate like banks, who kind of, who gives you funding like a personal loan. So when you talk of the sustainability, you talk of environmental impact, when you talk of growth, when you talk of ethics, integrity, it hardly matters to that group of investors. But large investment houses definitely ask questions on sustainability. The first question is, of course, the scalability of your model. Okay, so today you have an X customer. Can you have 10X customers? That is one way. The second one is they also ask you about, is the growth sustainable? Is the growth environmental friendly? Is the growth, solely based on a hype? Or, what are your basics, policies? What are your framework? What is your background? What is your basic foundation upon which you're constructed your organization? So large fund houses definitely ask you those questions. And this is very important.
Thank you, sir. Moving to the next question. Business ethics and human values, both are required or only any one of them from a good entrepreneur?
So, you don't have values, you will not have ethics. So ethics is something which comes out from your value. Okay, so you don't have a value system. Okay, you don't have ethics. Ethics is a subset of value. So as a person, see, you can be a good CEO or a good director or a good father or a good mother only if you are a good person. Okay, so essentially the core of every organization, okay, and comes from the value, the personal value of the founders. Now, when a founder is corrupt, let us say, okay, I'm running an amoral organization, which we discussed. Okay, now there is a great guy who has come, unfortunately, and joined, to his unfortune, has come and joined my organization. Okay, now how he either, okay, how far he can be ethical, how far his value system will thrive in my organization. Okay, so both are required for for a person. Both are required for an organization. A ethical person cannot work in an immoral organization, okay, or an immoral person cannot work in an ethical organization. So both are important. The values and ethics are important, and the ethics stems out of values, according to me.
Thank you, sir. The next question is, do government-owned companies practice CSR like private companies?
Definitely, yes. All companies, irrespective of whether government or private, has to have the funds reserved for CSR. And government companies, the Navaratna companies or mini Navaratna companies or mega Ratna companies or whatever they call it now, okay, they are the highest CSR guys. Their CSR, certain companies, the CSR, like ONGC, for example, their CSR is much more than certain states' social development grants, which is given.
And is the corporate social responsibility strategy evolving and adapting to meet new needs?
See, corporate social responsibility, what they've done is, it is definitely evolving. Okay, there are when it started, there were only few heads which were approved. Okay, now few heads where we could show expenses in CSR. Now, thankfully, the government is being proactive. Okay, and they're adding more heads into the the CSR approved lists. Okay, definitely this definitely is evolving. Especially there are now focused towards empowerment of ladies, empowerment of girls, your safe the awareness on sexual harassment. There are huge funds which are sanctioned for the hygiene. So it is definitely evolving.
Thank you, sir. So this is the last one. So do banks play a major role in achieving net zero?
Banks play a major role, and banks should. They have to play much bigger role in achieving net zero, because the focus of banks, unfortunately, even today, okay, especially I will call out private banks. Okay, they have much more distance to cover in achieving that. I don't want to personally take names of the banks, but then yes, much more to be desired.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for answering all the questions. Thank you so much for sharing your views on ethics and the sustainability in entrepreneurship. Any further more questions do the participants have? So the link for the feedback form will be, it is being posted in the chat box. You all are requested to fill it and submit it by the end of the session. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable
Yes,
time.
it was a pleasure. I hope it made some sense. Okay.
Definitely, sir.
Thanks a lot for having me here.
Thank you so much, sir.
And I wish the conference all the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
I have permission to leave?
Definitely, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Dear participants, the feedback link is being posted in the chat box. Kindly fill the feedback link. We will now break for 15 minutes and join back for panel discussion at 11 a.m. I request all the participants to join back the conference sharp at 11 a.m. for the panel discussion. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. There's an audio
Yes, sir. Yeah,
disturbance.
it's done. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, ma'am. Ready to go.
Thank
So
you, sir.
how was the inauguration? Went well?
Yes, sir. It went on very well.
Wonderful, wonderful.
So we'll just wait for a few minutes. The panelist will join.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Kumaran sir, you're here already? Yeah. Good morning, Dr. Kumaran.
Good morning. How are you?
Welcome back. I'm fine. How are you doing?
All good. Grace of God.
Perfect. That's always true.
Good morning, sir. How are you, sir?
Good morning.
Hi.
Good
How are you?
morning, ma'am.
Yeah, please welcome, sir.
So I hope the session was good, ma'am. The first session.
Yes, sir. It went on very well.
Okay.
We'll wait for a few minutes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely fine.
We'll start.
Sure, ma'am.
Thank you.
I still recall most of the time we would have had a very good practice and we would have actually logged in on time. But exactly on that particular second or a minute, something goes off. So it is better to be almost 10 or 15 minutes early.
Absolutely.
So that, there's nothing. The best way is to warm up.
Correct. Plus minus here and there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's better to be prepared.
In fact, I had one example. I was actually addressing almost 15,000 people on the LIC Complete Pan India.
Okay.
So the background, the virtual background, what we have today,
Yeah.
was not able to integrate in the system. There was some issue.
Right.
So it took almost an hour for the integration to happen. By the time the almost event was getting over.
Wow.
So sometime it happens. So
I know it's always difficult to predict, particularly
technology, we don't know what it is.
yeah, there's a famous theory in mathematics called the chaos theory.
Yeah.
And chaos theory always says that however much we prepare and we predict and we forecast, the nature always throws something that is unpredictable, something that is unknown.
True. Very true.
Yeah, things could go wrong.
So this session would actually go on till evening for the overall event.
I think post lunch they have paper presentations as in a conference, and then they have a valedictory.
Okay.
The panel discussion I think is till 12:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I think we would have had a plan for 1 hour, 30 minutes. Though if it is getting through what is it, 10-15 minutes here and there, I think we should finish up early. If it is maximum points are covered.
Correct.
Or we can also even extend it to another 5-10 minutes.
I know. You will also agree with me that, from my experience of panel discussions, once the intensity comes in, then it's
Yeah.
difficult to stop.
Yeah.
Good morning, Vaishnavi ma'am. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Very good morning.
Good morning. Good
Yeah.
morning.
Hi Vaishnavi ma'am, good morning. How are you?
Very good morning, ma'am. I'm very good. Thank you. And how are you?
Good ma'am, good. Sorry we disturbed you.
Ma'am, it's completely, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
You can also check your video, Vaishnavi, in case if it is.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
You're working fine.
Yeah, it's working great, actually.
I just read your message that you are stuck with a customer today. I think that one customer is what we all are actually running behind.
I know. And that's critically important.
And we can't miss that.
One or many, each one
Actually,
is
I've
important.
asked a break with them. Like I've sent them with my team today. Just now we'll just close it off and then I'll sit with them again.
So nice of you.
Rakesh sir, good morning.
Hi, ma'am. Good morning.
How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm fine. How are you?
Good, sir. Good, doing
Yeah,
well.
just 1 minute.
Good morning, Rakesh.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. How are you?
Welcome.
Fine,
I'm
sir.
all right. How are you doing?
Fine, sir. Fine. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Hello, sir. Kumaran, sir. Nega, ma'am.
Hi, good morning, Rakesh.
Vaishnavi, ma'am. Vanilla, ma'am. Good morning.
If you can change your background, Rakesh.
We'll do that.
You would have received a WhatsApp message from
Yes.
Kamila. Probably move it to your laptop or
So how do we do it?
send. Are you working on your laptop?
Yep.
Okay, so you can actually move it to your mail. From your mail, you can actually move to the desktop, and that pic you can actually add it to your background.
Okay.
Hello, Govindarajan sir. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning. Doing fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Shamla.
Thank you.
Good morning, Govind sir.
Good morning, Dr. Manojan.
Yes.
So could you please try to switch on your video?
Yeah, I'm just trying to add that virtual banner, right?
Okay, fine.
I have downloaded the
Desktop, yeah, then you can go to your Zoom app.
okay.
It will talk about virtual background. It will just say add plus, there is one plus. If you're just able to click on that, then it will take you to the,
Apps, is it?
yeah, matlab, you can actually go to the settings. The
Okay.
video settings are there. It would have mentioned choose virtual background. The moment you click your video, stop. You can see the video, mute and video, both the on your left hand
Yeah,
side.
choose virtual background, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, choose virtual background. Then it will say mention add. If you just click on the add, it will go to the maybe a desktop.
Yeah, add image.
Yeah, add images. Then go to the desktop. From there, you can check.
Is my voice loud and clear?
Yes, yes, we
Okay.
can. Sharmila ma'am, I think we have
Manish sir has to
Manish-
join.
Manish
Yes, I spoke
sir
to
has-
him. He will be joining soon.
okay.
Meanwhile, shall we start, sir, or will wait?
No, we'll
Thanks
wait
a lot.
for the panel to come in.
Yeah, we'll wait for a few minutes then.
So Rakesh, you're done.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I
Thanks a
will
lot.
share my address to you. Probably you can share one nice plant in terms of environment discussion.
Definitely, yes.
Probably you can courier me a very nice plant of your
Def-
choice.
Definitely.
These days, gifting and getting lovely
Correct.
plants are the times now.
At CMS Business School, we actually do just that.
I got one from CMS. In fact, I was so.
Right. So we have a tradition. We always gift a plant.
Yeah.
And internally also, we acknowledge faculty or a student's contribution by gifting them a plant.
So how you want to take the flow, sir? To start with, you want to start with Poon, sir?
Right. Thank you, Kumaran sir, for initiating that. I thought I'll just give a brief introduction to begin with, and then move on to Kumaran sir to begin with, and requesting others to add in perspectives based on the points raised by Kumaran sir. Is that fine?
So I have a 1 minute 25 seconds video.
Yeah, sure. Just I think we'll tell Sharmila ma'am to also activate the audio and the video aspects so that
Sure, sir.
Rakesh-
We'll
Yes, it's activated. Yeah.
yeah. So when we
Will
come
do,
to Rakesh sir, so we'll move from Kumaran sir to Vaishnavi ma'am to Govind Rajan sir, and then Rakesh sir, and then we'll keep moving between ourselves. So
Yeah, sure.
is that okay?
Sure, sir. Sure.
Perfect.
Rakesh sir, would you like to try?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Is it visible, right?
Not yet.
Audible?
Yes.
Yes, sir. It's perfect. now. Can
Sure.
play later.
Done.
Thank you, sir.
Because I thought to share this. So this is a part of the 17 sustainable goals by the United Nations.
Sure, sure.
Mona sir, Manish sir is facing some issues, so we will start. Meanwhile, let him join, sir, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome to a virtual international conference on sustainable entrepreneurship. Rethink, redesign, and redefine. Instructions to the participants. All the participants have to be present throughout the conference to get the benefit of the virtual learning program and for the e-certificate. Also, please note, do not fail to fill the feedback form after the end of each session. During the keynote address, during the panel discussion, if you have any queries, please keep them posted on question and answer icon. Now we are starting with the panel discussion on sustainable entrepreneurship, rethink, redesign, and redefine. Some people dream of success while other people get up every morning and make it happen. I now take the privilege to introduce the panel moderator, Dr. Mono John. Dr. Mono John has over 27 years of teaching, coaching, corporate, and project consulting experience in India and UK. Dr. Mono John is an MBA from FMS, University of Delhi. He has an MPhil in management, understanding assertiveness, and a PhD in entrepreneurship strategy and transformational leadership with a successful submission of the doctoral thesis on the effect of leadership and entrepreneurial orientation of micro, small, and medium enterprises in the ITES sector in India on business platform and profitability. He is additionally qualified with a master's in HRM. Dr. Mono is a motivated educator working as area chair for entrepreneurship and new venture creation at Jain Deemed to be University, CMS Business School, Bangalore. He is an experienced professional with a proven record of generating and building relationships, managing academic projects from concept to completion, designing educational strategies, and coaching individuals to success in higher education institutions. A research paper entitled "The Role of Accelerators in Growing Higher Education Institution-Centered Entrepreneurship Ecosystems, a Novel Framework for Preferred Outcomes," written by Dr. Mono John, has recently been accepted for publication in an international peer-reviewed reputed journal. Dr. Mono John, along with Chairman and Chancellor Dr. Chain Raj Roy Chand and Vice Chancellor Dr. Raj Singh, has successfully launched the first university-based Kalpavriksha Entrepreneurship Accelerator Program. This is a unique immersive program that holds Chain University students through ideation, incubation, acceleration, and scale-up processes to enable and empower them to become new venture creators. Thank you, sir, and request you to take over the panel discussion and introduce our panelists for the session.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you
Sir,
for
we
that.
can't hear you.
Just one moment. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're clear.
Right. Thank you, ma'am. Welcome, everybody, to this wonderful theme-based panel discussion on sustainability and how entrepreneurship can be sustainable through rethink, redesign, and redefine. A wonderful theme for us to dwell on and deliberate on and have a meaningful discussion on. Sustainable entrepreneurship has three basic focus directions. One is, of course, social value creation. Social value creation, where we look at how sustainable practices and sustainable innovation can benefit large segments of our society. The second focus direction, I believe, is economic stability, economic growth. And entrepreneurship, again, comes in very, very strongly to provide new directions for economic development and economic equality for all. The third focus direction, I'm sure my distinguished panel members would agree with me, has to do with something that Greta Thunberg brought into the limelight, which is environmental value creation. So three aspects: social value creation, economic value creation, and environmental value creation make up the sum and substance of sustainable entrepreneurship. And I can assure you that we have a panel member team that is distinguished and accredited with all the qualities and experience in these three areas. So without further ado, I will have the privilege of briefly introducing my panel member colleagues. First and foremost, I have Ms. Vaishnavi, who is the Executive Director, Zorg Corp Business Consultation. What I also do know about Ms. Vaishnavi is that she is a product out of IIM Bangalore's N.S. Raghavan Center for Entrepreneurial Learning and Incubation Center. And there's a lot of work that she has done in the area of sustainable entrepreneurship practices. So I'm sure that Vaishnavi ma'am will bring in aspects that we are all waiting to listen to. Welcome, Vaishnavi.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor.
Yes, thank you. We have Dr. Kumaran Sampath. He is the MD and the CEO of EGMA Capital Services Private Limited. But beyond that, I know Dr. Kumaran is very, very passionate in a specific area of services in India, which is the banking and the financial markets, financial services sector. And he has beautiful insights to offer in terms of how sustainability and sustainable entrepreneurship practices can be taken forward in a much maligned area, maligned sector. You know, when it comes to sustainability, the finance sector seems to be left out of accountability or responsibility. And it's always about manufacturing, polluting the environment. It's always about hospitality, tourism, and climate change, and those kind of areas that takes precedence. So we have Kumaran sir providing insights on how banking and finance also comes into play when it comes to sustainable entrepreneurship. I have with me another distinguished panel member, Mr. Govindarajan, who is the founder and CEO of Niftrix Technologies Private Limited. Now, Govindarajan sir again comes in with a beautiful area of experience in blockchain technology, artificial intelligence, and he also has a few words to a few insights to share with us in terms of finance, in terms of financial markets. Now, welcome, Govindarajan sir. And I also have with me Rakesh Radhakrishnan, a young man who's very, very passionate about the third area of value creation, in the context of sustainable entrepreneurship, which is environmental value creation. He will talk to us about climate change, but his background is also looking at one of the critical resources for industry, which is human resource. And I will definitely talk to him and would like some insights from him in terms of green HR practices and green HR sustainability. So this is my panel, but I also have another distinguished panel member here with me who's joined us, Mr. Manish Chandrasekhar, who is the founder and CEO of WorkFrame Cultivo. And he is also into blockchain adoption in enterprises and will talk to us, will provide insights for us in the area of branding and sustainability entrepreneurship in the context of branding, advertising, promotion, and such areas. So Manish sir, welcome. Rakesh sir, welcome. Govind Rajan sir, welcome. Kumaran sir, welcome. And Vaishnavi, welcome to this panel discussion.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
I'll take this forward by requesting Kumaran sir to begin the proceedings with a pointed, area of concern that I would like to put forward. We talk about finance, we talk about financial markets, we talk about banking in the context of what kind of inclusion, first and foremost, will they initiate, will they provide to people at large, to society at large? How does the sector consider inclusion as well as promoting entrepreneurial processes or from entrepreneurs with the right kind of funding, make it available to them, and what could be the criteria that they will insist upon when it comes to sustainable ventures or sustainable entrepreneurship processes? Govind Rajan, Kumaran sir.
First of all, a very good morning to all of you and all the attendees, and looking forward for a great session. Thank Jain School of Commerce for this fabulous opportunity to speak about the most critical area of the planet today, which actually defines people, planet, and profit. Today we do business and actually sums up to profit. Question to start with, how does our industry, banking and finance, support the sustainable entrepreneurship and add value? It's a very interesting question to start with. So we actually evolved at times speaking about ROE, interest rate, GDP,
Sharmila ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think what we can do is switch off the videos.
Yeah, his voice is lacking. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, voice is lagging. Kumaran
Sure.
sir, yeah, Kumaran sir, your voice is breaking up.
So it took time different in the earlier times. So if you
I think we've lost the connection with Kumaran sir. while we wait for him to join us, I'd like to quickly go to Govindrajan sir and request him to provide certain insights in terms of what concerns us, particularly in the context of greed initiatives and how the banking and the finance sector can actually come in.
Thank you, Dr. Manojohn. Thank you, Jain School of Business, for this opportunity to be part of this panel. It's a very interesting topic which has come, right? Recently, sustainable entrepreneurship is a jargon, and I'm very happy that that is coming in for such kind of panel discussions and stuff. I think this is very much needed and a very great move. And I thank Jain School to take up this topic for today. To start with, fintech is something is a vast space, right? How to penetrate fintech, right? When you say the fintech services to vast population is a big question here. The big pain point over there is that a certain portion of people who are completely not able to access the finance needs, right, for day-to-day business or for whatever they want to do it. So in my view, the entrepreneurs, whatever being planned, need to see how they can get into embrace those section of society also. So I think this is one important topic, which is also big jargon in these days. It's quite a lot of startups around.
Yeah.
Like Kumaran, Sampath, Rakesh, everyone is aware of this thing. This is the microfinance sector, right?
Absolutely.
See the disruption we are creating here, right? See, the people don't have access to the regular system. They don't have proper documentation. They don't have access to run the day-to-day businesses for small amounts. They have to approach some people who lend money very unorganized way. And the kind of interest they loot from these kind of sector of people is totally, unimaginable, right? And
correct.
And these kind of people are suffering on a day-to-day basis, even to pay their interest, right? And this microfinance concept, what we talk about, is easily able to onboard these kind of people and try to address their needs on a day-to-day basis. And interestingly, what being observed in the statistics and other stuff is that they are repaying better than the other sector people. So in my view, we need to look out for such kind of areas in the society and try to embrace them and see how can address them, right?
Govindrajan sir, that's a good starting point for us to discuss upon, primarily because you mentioned micro lending, you mentioned microfinance in the context of sustainability and developing a healthy economic outlook. I would also like you to touch upon this whole interesting area of inclusion in the context of remittances and how sustainability, entrepreneurship, fintechs, fintech can actually accelerate that and escalate that to include a larger section of society.
Absolutely. Excellent point. This is something very important topic right now because quite a lot of population from India are in abroad, right? If you see the fintech market in India, we are, I would say, the best, right from, the adoption of new technologies and kind of the policies and other stuff. If I want to transfer X amount to Dr. Kumaran or Rakesh, I can just do it 24/7 just using the current payment system called UPI, right, which has been developed by the government of India. Okay. And so it is. It's become such an important thing that I don't need to log into my net banking to do some certain amount of transfer, right? Absolutely. So you have 3 or 4 banks. You don't need to do it. You just need to go, just plug in, just put the amount. A simple 3 clicks process. It is done. Correct. So we are world leader there. But just look around the developed market, even the developing market. They are bound by certain framework, 9 to 5, and transferring is so difficult. So when the global, transfer remittance comes into picture, there's a lot of bottleneck there. For example, say certain of society, right, who have to be in abroad to make sure the families are, in a better shape here. They try to send this amount, right, global payment, that's remittance, right, from, say, for example, from UAE to India, just an example. You see the issues there, right? First of all, FX spread, right? The Forex spread itself very high. If it's 80 rupees is the conversion rate, right? US dollar to INR, they don't give you that much, right? Because they try to mitigate the risk by giving it at 73 or 74 or 75, whatever it is, right? Plus the transaction fee. And there is no transparency in that process, right? You don't know where the transaction is lying around. It takes 3 days, sometimes 4 days, sometimes a week also to get that amount credited to your account. So the hard-earned money, there's approximately 5 to 8% is being detected there itself, right? Good. So one of our startup, Nublo, what we're trying to do is creating a neobank through blockchain platform, where we were able to transfer instantly in 3 seconds anywhere from the world to any country, and 70% less transaction fee or FX spread, right? Right. So that's something. See, here the benefit is not to the company here itself, but also to the section of people, right? Who here, the strategy says their average earning is less than, $300, $400 per month, right? And we're able to save a substantial amount there. I think we need to look at such kind of disruptions around in a place and try to solve it up.
Thank you, Govindarajan sir. So, Kumaran sir, for your benefit, I was just requesting Govindarajan sir to talk about fintech and banking and the financial markets. And he based on his own experiences, he spoke about micro lending as well as remittances. So I'd like to come back to you, Kumaran sir, and Govindarajan sir. Please hold on, because I'm going to come back to you on your favorite area. So, Kumaran sir, requesting you to go ahead and talk about fintech and how sustainability can be, can be established as well as promoted or leveraged, in the business ecospace that we have here in India.
I to just take the discussion forward. Today we speak about the GDP, economy, profit, ROE in our business, and in general we are actually clubbed with 2 kind of taxes. One is a corporate tax, and the other one is income tax. So, I strongly believe, I think we need to get in a kind of reform our Mother Earth in terms of, or it could be a land tax. Once you have this inbuilt in the system, the entire ecosystem actually follows that. And then we actually set an example. For me, being a leader, I would like to be a follower. So, to just quote one example, I'm also a marathoner. So I've just started one small initiative. Add 42.2 kilometers, which is one full marathon, where I can plant 1 tree. So this is a new initiative. So as leaders, actually, we have to set examples. So when I say on the taxation is concerned, which actually brings in very serious thought as a company we are today. To just quote a few examples. I was Infosys, which is actually based out of Bangalore. Their power consumption in terms of electricity is concerned comes from renewable energy, which is almost close to 44% of their electricity usage in their campus. Wonderful. Comes from renewable energy. Yeah, that's absolutely huge. So to quote another example, for 2030, which is aim to reducing carbon emission by 30%. That it's in my own finance industry, ICICI Bank board has approved funding focus towards environment, social governance, and also looking at how do you, redefine the policy of funding to help the sustainable entrepreneurship goals, and how as a society we actually have to reach this goal. So to add value to this, as a finance company, we largely focus on the vehicle loan segment. So when I say vehicle loan segment, we have decided in the future, so we're going to fund the EV segment and also promote the EV segment, because it's not about only finding a right customer or giving loans to customer and making money. We also have to have a simple philosophy, as I said, from leadership to followership. So we as a company, we have actually decided to park a sustainable money towards funding the EV two-wheeler segment. It could be two-wheelers, it could be commercial vehicles, it could be cars. So if I'm able to add my part of to the system, I'm sure, I think slowly, I think things will change. And that is where actually we could see the results coming in. So this is my
Wonderful.
initial takes.
Wonderful, Kumaran sir. You mentioned the Go Green initiatives in the renewable energy space, in the electric mobility space, and you spoke about taxation as one of the initiatives in terms of funding, not just funding, but also putting pressure on people at large in terms of taking a close look and being concerned about the environment. So what are your views on green tax? Something that's being talked about in India also, green tax.
Yeah, I think this actually correlates the same thing which I had the same vision here. But if you look at as a system, we are very diversified as a country. And if you look at our each state has got various kinds of environmental challenges. At the same time, we are very diversified as a country whole. But nevertheless, Government of India with many initiatives, could be a Make in India initiative, or it could be Atmanirbhar Bharat, or it could be various initiatives where actually everything is focused towards the Go Green initiatives. So when I say Go Green initiative, it absolutely translated to Go Green tax as well. So I'm seeing as a whole, the system is actually changing. People have actually accepted the change is required now, because climate change was a very, very different topic earlier times. Today, it is a common topic all across the globe. So I'm sure, I think the green tax is just up the corner, and I'm sure, I think it will be in the reckoning in the days to come. And I'm sure, I think that's a way forward, because as a system, if you have to evolve and save the Mother Earth, we need to really respect, and more than respect, we have to really do something which is very, very strongly sustainable.
Wonderful. So taking this thought forward, I'd like to also request Vaishnavi to come in and talk about sustainability practices, from your perspective, from your experience. You have in the past expressed concerns with respect to the utilization, maximization of the utilization of resources. So we have scarce resources. Are we utilizing them properly? And how does clean energy, manufacturing, electricity generation, as well as utilization benefit from this utilization of resources?
For sure. So when we talk about sustainability as a whole, like as we also talked this in the beginning stages as well, we talk about the past tense, the present tense, and the future tense. Like what have we done retrospectively to do something today to sustain it for tomorrow? So the first stuff that comes in mind when it comes to optimal utilization of resources is that energy. Let's say usage of some types of clean energy, actually the most cleanest energy. So like, can I ask you a question? Like, you being
Please.
biggest research, like everybody here is doctors who's in the host and panelist members. So what do you think is the cleanest energy that we can use?
Wonderful. So clean energy is solar energy?
It's actually tidal energy, sir.
Sorry?
So tidal, it is tidal.
Tidal energy. Okay.
Exactly. It is
Yeah, good to know that.
most cleanest energy that we could use. So when it comes to electricity, we really have to think of, like, not a common household, but every industries that use it in large scales has to think about the nearest cleanest energy that can be available, optimally available for them. Let's say solar panels in higher latitudes such as UK and stuff are readily available, but the costs are also less. But if they can utilize wind energy there, it is more sustainable, irrespective of it is more costlier. But the kind of sustainability that we should be looking forward to is something which is readily accessible and more viable and more cleaner.
Wonderful.
So that is how we optimally calculate. When we used to work with people, we optimally calculate the natural resources that they can use to promote it to the future as well. Because we won't lack wind, isn't it? We won't lack wind at all. We won't lack tide.
Right.
But when it comes to, again, when we speak about energy and this one, we have to also think about recyclability of the products that we use today.
Correct.
Let's say the solar panels today that we are using are going, not today, like we deployed before 7 to 10 years, which is the average life cycle of a solar panel.
Absolutely.
We now have a larger problem of disposing and recycling them.
Absolutely. And the same goes for batteries also.
Exactly, sir. Exactly. As you rightly said. Exactly, doctor. I shouldn't call you sir. So exactly, doctor.
I'm okay. I'm okay with my first name, Monu.
Yeah. Oh, all right. So that is it all about. Like, when it comes to sustainability and energy, we really have to think about tomorrow instead of what is very optimally utilized today. So
absolutely. You were also talking about plastics and recycling opportunities, or even recycling challenges with respect to plastic. Could you shed some insights on this particular area of concern?
For sure, sir. You're talking about recyclability. I by myself have a company which does works on sustainable products. So obviously, recycling is something we really have to keenly be concerned about. But being in the industry, like, we know recycling products are most costlier.
Absolutely.
Than producing a new one.
Correct.
So we have to be getting a lot of policies that actually incentivizes a lot of recyclability. And when it comes to recycling plastics as well as silicones and all the mixed wastes. So recyclability now is, as I before told, like, industry should be very sustainable when it comes to energy use resources. But when it comes to recycling, like, the consumer, the end consumer actually must be very aware what they are putting on, where they are putting on, how they are disposing.
Absolutely. And Vaishnavi, do we have the appropriate policies to promote and to leverage this thought? This question goes out to everyone else on the panel also. Manish,
obviously.
Rakesh, yeah, please go ahead.
Yes, please continue.
Please go ahead. Because I'm concerned, yes, you did mention that we need to have those policies, but do we have certain policies here, and what's happening with these policies? Is it having an impact? That's an area of concern. Please go ahead.
We do have a lot of policies that is encouraging sustainability, or else you or me or any of the panelists are not sitting here today. So we do have a lot of encouraging policies, but the thing when it comes to implementation stays a little bit more stingy. That is what we can call. Like, when it comes to like, everybody is working on the sustainable field. Like, we all know when we call sustainable, we call it costly.
Right.
So the thing is with the implementation, actually. So like, the governments should incentivize more, like we do for EVs right now.
Very important, very important. So incentivization
Exactly.
is the way forward, at the personal level as well as at the societal level, at the large scale level, institutional as well as personal. I think incentivization is an idea that needs to be explored, intensified, and leveraged. Wonderful, Vaishnavi. Can we request Rakesh to take on, from there? And, we're coming closer to his specific area of experience. So please go ahead, Rakesh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes. Before I start, I would like to play a video.
Yeah.
Wherein everyone is knowing what we are speaking about. So these are the part of the United Nations 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
Wonderful. Yeah.
So the reason behind me playing this video is, so I was fortunate enough, obviously by Almighty's blessings, to be one of the top 1,000 innovators across the globe to be part of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Like we are in the process of elevating poverty and also fighting climate change.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Like adding to Vaishnavi's ma'am's point, like a lot of companies are now working on creating amazing products. For example, like Nike, they have this code called as RFID, wherein they are deploying this code on the athletics shoes, and then they're able to track the volume of how they're able to use their clothes. And in turn, during their manufacturing, right, they're able to streamline the process and then reduce the climate change. And then companies like Unilever and Reliance, Tech Mahindra, they have pledged to go carbon free by 2025. A lot of startups across India who are literally changing the world in terms of creating sustainable climate changes. So they are coming up with carbon credits. So this is a new concept called as the carbon credits, which a lot of people are slowly now getting aware about this. So this is a concept called as carbon credit, wherein they give a credit. So I pledge to take 1 ton of CO2 from the environment, and then I go carbon free. So a lot of new age startups are now coming up in India and across the world, wherein they're also able to convert the Google Pay transactions.
That's incentivization.
Into NFT tokens, and then based on that, they get this carbon credits.
Absolutely.
So United Nations have actually assigned these 17 sustainable development goals to a lot of companies, and then the companies are segregating across 3-4 important goals, which the particular company can focus on and then change it.
Absolutely.
This is what is happening actually now, literally in the world.
Absolutely. So, Rakesh, can you give us other examples of industry, particularly, or organizations that are into carbon credits, reducing, taking initiatives, sustainable initiatives in terms of reducing carbon footprints across the world today?
This is still in the process.
Right.
A lot of people are still getting accustomed to the term called as a carbon credit. So a startup called as Climes, CLIMES. Okay, so they have
Yes.
just got recently funded by Kalari Capital. So what they're doing is they assess a company, and then when they assess the company, they will tell that okay, that this is the carbon emitted per year, like about 4 or 5 tons. What they do is they assess and then they give out a plan. That, okay, we'll be working with you in the next 2-3 years to reduce the carbon footprint, and then based on that, they'll be giving a carbon credit. So
I also heard Rakesh sir and also the other distinguished panel members. Yeah, Vaishnavi too. About say for example, Reliance. Reliance is actually taking steps to actually calculate carbon footprints in terms of their operations. So you have Coke also getting into sustainable practices in terms of climate change. How their businesses impact the environment. So
a lot of companies they have pledged, like Reliance, Jindal, Tech Mahindra. They have pledged to go carbon free, or they have mandated to do so by the government or the international clients.
Right.
So one of the startup which I'm working with is called as EKI Energy. EKI Energy. So what they do is these guys, they have an in-house team to calculate and offset their carbon emission, and then they partner with the big companies like Reliance, Jindal, and then they act like advisories.
Right.
What they do is they calculate the carbon footprint, advise them on the green practices.
Right.
And then they credit with a carbon credit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like wonderful. what they do is they credit for the carbon, they give a carbon credit for the non-avoidable carbon emissions.
Correct. So, very interesting, we've come so far, and distinguished panel members will also agree with me when I say that we started with the economic value creation, and we also covered social value creation there, and then we branched off into environmental value creation. And you see things are looking up in terms of incentivization mentioned by Vaishnavi, funding and go green initiatives in the fintech arena. All of these things are working out in the current dynamics that we have here in India. There's a lot of looking up to in terms of how the government is proactively promoting sustainable practices that benefit all these three areas equally. So in that context, I'd like Govindrajan sir to actually come back and also get Manish sir into the discussion. He's also raised his hand to talk about sustainable practices in the context of blockchain and artificial intelligence. Manish sir, would you like to go ahead first? And then Govindrajan sir can come in. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, that would be great. First of all, thank you. I'm very happy topics like this are being discussed. To start off with, I just want to give a small introduction. Though in Bangalore Web3 ecosystem, I'm known as an entrepreneurship, more of a Web3 enterprise guy, blockchain for enterprise. But most of the work which I do was corely related to sustainable practices. Wow. Some of it, if I can just mention, is that my first project which I did in Bill Gates Foundation, and with each project I can kind of connect with the story how it is related to sustainability.
Yeah, please. We would like to hear that.
The first project which I did was in 2017 in Bill Gates Foundation. That was blockchain in menstruation hygiene. So there we wanted to teach members that there was not so sustainable practices. The women were using cloths, not so ethical or hygiene practices. So that's why we use blockchain to raise awareness and create real-time trust factor, where to ensure that sustainable practices are taking place. All the members who are in the chain can get real-time view what is happening and things as such. And we used to ensure that people are getting tokenized for making sure, or incentivized rather, bounties for making sure that the entire path is going great or wrong. And
Yes.
usually when we know government grants are there, there used to be leakages. So we used to ensure if there's something sustainable or NGO practice which is going on, the government needs to support. And the best way for any CSR activity needs to be put on blockchain, because it can spread it out. It can spell it out loud on a transparent later what happened, why it happened, and what were the impacts. The data is out in the public.
Excellent. Excellent.
Second,
Yeah.
that we work with community agriculture. That is all this corporate agriculture possibilities, contract farming, where the entire transaction members those. And this was done with IMB professor mentors. I was also part of NSRCL thing.
Wonderful.
And during that also, we learned a lot that there's so many things that, greenwashing, which I feel is going on. Many people claim to be organic. Many people claim to be sustainable, but it is really not. So how do we prove this claim? So we built a product. That was my first product in Cultivo. Before to this, I was working as a research associate in Bill Gates. So the startup was Cultivo. Let's say tomorrow you go to Nature's Fresh, you find an organic product. Let's say organic carrot, for an example. What we used to do is that during the packaging, let's say 1 kg of that, you can scan the QR code and get to know the entire journey of the product, where it came from, who was the farmer.
Wow.
How many years of organic experience he had. Did he renew his organic certificates? All those minute details to know whether fair trade has happened. Did, for example, how much did Farm Fresh pay to him? All these minute details for us to take sustainable data-driven decisions. So this was not only on...
Excellent. I'm going to take you up on this, Manish, because you mentioned something that really excites us, and binds social value creation, economic development, as well as environmental value creation together, and that's agriculture. So agriculture and sustainability practices there, the kind of incentivization or tokenization, leveraging those kind of practices to encourage India's, what should I say, primary, process or activity is agrarian. And how does sustainability come on to that? I'd like you to expand on this.
Yes, sir. So there's a couple of companies which are working on this. One of the IAM companies as well. So we all know this MTR mirchi powder. So MTR mirchi powder worked with the farm organization called as Negala Yogi Foundation. I might have not correctly mentioned it, but Negala Yogi Foundation, what it did is that these organizations went with those community members, worked around with them, educated them, how do you do this? And then they use power of IoT, AI, ML, and made sure MTR can track that the quality which they're getting is good or not. So, and these farmers were true to themselves. They stuck to the organic practices, which is usually the one which was done before Green Revolution, which is our true native. So those kinds of activities were recorded, rewarded, and instantly gratified with this kind of an economy. So somewhere, I feel that somewhere players like us, startups like us, and even should participate in this, should be the anchor role for bridging the gaps. And then the other attendants here should take data-driven decisions and select these products.
Absolutely. And please continue.
In contrary to this, I just wanted to mention one more thing, sir, which I did later. We did this company, we got funded from Nordic Partners. We did this product called as Traceable, and it was for premium textile industries. So we built 4x of a grander product of this. In this, vendors could connect to themselves. We used to verify if a vendor is ethical or not. We used to assign badges, and there used to be qualification of enterprises. If a dealer has a LEED certification or an EIN standard for Europe market, then we validate that he is a premium person. So in those things, it is working out very well. And when we realized that, but we realized that internationally, people want to know more about it. They want to know where the product comes from. Somewhere in India, I feel that people are like, 5 rupees discount, I'll buy this. Somewhere I feel within us, people have to change. We would love to know more story about our product, take sustainable practices, supporting causes. And it has started, which through events like this, it has to be more magnified and amplified, I feel, sir.
What's wonderful in what you have just shared with us, Manish, is the fact that known organizations, like MTR. I know MTR for their dosa and for their vadas and for their meals. But there's more to what these organizations are doing in the background, in terms of sustainable practices, healthy practices, and that's impacting their brand too. That's impacting the agricultural community, the agrarian community as such. And Vaishnavi ma'am also spoke about sustainable practices in the context of climate and climate change.
Obviously.
This short discussion itself has brought about highlighted certain sustainability impacts. One is, of course, change. Change
Obviously.
is the only constant, and Vaishnavi will attest to that. That change is what sustainability actually makes happen. So, Vaishnavi, since you have to go, a last word from you.
Yeah, for sure. Like when we call it sustainability, like one thing what I have learned through the practice that we have put through the journey that I have collectively done is that like the doing is doing. So the littlest impact that we can make today can create a lot of chain reactions when it comes to good actions. So
absolutely,
as Manish and Mr. Rakesh also told that like impact is something that we look forward with the change. But
right.
Like one thing that I always say to everybody that I work with is keep tomorrow in mind while creating some sort of changes today. It might cater today so well, but for tomorrow it is something that we are leaving in negative stuff. And
Correct.
also, sir, I would like to add one thing.
Yes,
When
yes.
we work with startups or when we talk with startups, it's just not carbon dioxide that is actually adding up to the climate change. It's polluting. It's methane that is going into the environment. Actually, methane is something that is more abundant than the carbon and more lethal. So
Brilliant, brilliant. Yes.
we really have to look forward to.
You need to unmute again, Vaishnavi.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No issues.
Yeah. So it is not just carbon that we have to look forward to when we conclude while producing or doing something. It is about we not polluting the environment over and over again. And
absolutely.
Helping things to revive to its natural states. So let's say UK is taking a very good initiative on demolishing dams, bigger dams.
Absolutely.
And constructing smaller dams in the meanwhile of its tributaries.
Okay.
So creating the same effect, but with lesser negative impact. Absolutely. So that kind of modest solution is what we are expecting, and with the students and people who are listening, doing is doing, talking is not doing. So this is and but one thing that also I learned to conclude is singular is not at all better than plural reactions. And people who are sitting here, I really look forward to work with to create more positive impacts to the environment, to the people, to the earthlings, of course. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vaishnavi, for those wonderful insights, and tying up what the other distinguished panel members spoke about, particularly Manish and Rakesh and Kumaran sir and Govindrajan sir. I'm going to come back to Govindrajan sir and Kumaran sir on specifics on something that they have already mentioned. But just before you go, Vaishnavi, a small word or a small insight on gender equality and sustainability entrepreneurship.
That's something that that's very closer to my heart.
I'm very, 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 very interested in knowing your take on that.
For sure. Like for me, when it comes to equality, that to gender equality, like I should say one thing, this word should demolish in near coming years. Whenever people call me for talking about women entrepreneurship, I would rather say, call me for entrepreneurship, not women entrepreneurship. Because
Absolutely.
we don't call it a men entrepreneurship.
Right.
That doesn't make sense to call it a women entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So
Great.
gender equality persists, like equality persists when there is nothing left behind to make it equal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. See, this whole idea of gender equality in terms of sustainability entrepreneurship is because of the excellent and brilliant work being done by women entrepreneurs, that takes it to another level. Entrepreneurship practices, of course, everybody is doing it, but when the women community enters the picture, there is a different flavor to it. There's a different take on it, and that's exactly why this is being highlighted. That you have, for example, I had a student, a young student, actually attending her selection interview, talking about how she aspires to set up a seed bank for farmers in her locality, a seed bank. And I thought this was revolutionary for a young child aiming to be an MBA. Talking about setting up a seed bank for her local community is something that can only come out with the kind of sensitivities
So
that a woman
while
is
yes, sir,
involved in.
yeah. So may I continue, sir?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, when we talk about gender equality, there is really something that has to be taken into pictures. Let's say when we compare the data that we have today, like girls, unfortunately, even today, are put to stop their career amid some sort of cultural experiences that we go through today. Fortunately, like I'm not from such a background, but it's too many ambitious persons, like I even train, have to stop their career amid. So there has to be a lot of stuff that has to go into end consumer's mind again to make this really, really equal. It is not, and even women think that is their responsibility to stop their career and to be full-time inside something else. No, it's not. Actually, no, it's not. So equality persists in mind. And there is also a lot of misconceptions when people talk about equality.
Correct.
So, but one positive thing about this ecosystem is that, as I already told you, there is a lot of incentives that are put through when it comes to entrepreneurship itself to make this bias get vanished, actually.
Absolutely.
So it is up to women who has to utilize it.
Correct.
And it obviously, that is one point that I wanted to iterate. Like, for the woman who is listening out there, or for the man who wants to encourage this gender equality to go away, is that use the incentives. That's it. And be persistent.
Correct.
Like, no matter what gender you are going to face all kind of challenges that is put through in the journey of entrepreneurship. You have to be really persistent in order to crack it.
Absolutely. One of the
then it also partially lies on us also, right?
Rakesh.
It partially lies on us also, because we as entrepreneurs, we need to impart that education to the next generation to bring about the line of entrepreneurs.
Obviously. And yeah, very good point, Mr. Rakesh.
Because why I told you is, so I train a lot of women who have been rescued from brothels.
Wow.
A lot of transgenders, and I deploy them with the latest 21st century skills, and then place them in the leading elite hotels.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is what I do, like part of my CSR activities are.
Yeah,
so I mean, sir, not about appreciating assets, because sustainability practices starts with us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We tell all big things like to be about the environment and things like that. And then if we are not able to inculcate these set of values, right, it's a total failure of system.
I know. And
obviously,
what Rakesh said is very, very critical, including what Vaishnavi said, primarily because there is a sense, when I talk to a lot of people outside, students as well as, senior people, I get the impression that entrepreneurs are actually maligned for the harm that they bring to the environment. So they're actually a maligned lot, their ideas will never work, that kind of a dismissive kind of a comment is something that I constantly hear. So coming from Rakesh, that we take responsibility for sustainable practices, and that includes working, bringing into the forefront the transgender community and women. See, one thing that I have learned or I have understood is that you don't require anybody's permission to do what you think you
Exactly.
wish
Wow.
to do and the change that you need
Definitely,
to do.
yes.
That is
Would you,
true,
would you
very
agree?
true.
Yeah, would you agree with
Very
me on
true.
that?
Definitely,
I fully
definitely,
agree.
yes.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But
That's
we
that's
need
the only
capital to
point.
do that.
So the capital
Ma'am, I
is
think you
coming
need
from Kumaran
more
and
of capital. I think you need time
Govindran.
to do that. More
I
of
know,
capital. I
I
think
know.
you need time to do
That's
it.
that's a funny note.
I know, I know.
Just to quote one example
Yes, sir.
in terms of gender equality, what actually Vaishnavi was talking. I worked in a company called Reliance Capital. I'm sure everybody is aware about Reliance Capital. So we had a very, very clear vision in terms of the HR is concerned. There was absolutely no, what to say, men or women. It was equally, the hiring was equally done, and it was always 50-50% of leadership roles to the executive roles. So there was absolutely no gender equality. And this I'm talking about way back in 16, 17 times. So I'm sure, I think we have moved on in this particular area. I see the world has actually evolved very differently. And if you look at UK had a new PM who's a woman. So there's nothing called what is gender equality in various areas. I think all the areas, I think the women are much superior, and they're equally giving a tough competition to the men.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But women are better leaders than men.
Yes, as an aspect of continuity, I want to now ask or request my panel members to focus on sustainability in the context of this new population that we have here, the millennials. Right? And as a teacher, my experience with the millennials is they do things differently, they think differently, they act differently, they study differently, they have different, very focused aims and a whole lot of things. They would be most comfortable with sustainable practices that, and equality of the sexes and a whole lot of range. So can I request you to
I think I'll
provide
go
some
with
insights there? Yes.
I'll go with this. So,
yes.
So one of the passion is all about also teaching, and the teaching the students as well is also been my passion. So whenever I do a session, it is very challenging to what to manage the younger lots and the new millennial kids. So while I say this, in fact, one of the things which actually we are completely on today is social media. So one of the things actually I was actually trying to understand today, our life actually evolves around advertisements and ads and whatnot. So as a reform in the country, if you have to really bring in a massive change, because we are a very mass country, so the advertisements and the way we communicate has to completely change. Today, you go to a cinema hall, you see advertisements. You open the mobile phones, you see advertisements. You on the TV news, for everything. There's a commercial break and advertisement. And what we see, what we learn. So if you're able to change, and if you're going to outlook a very different perspective, the way we communicate, it could be any product as such. It could be consumable product, or it can be any kind of a product which we use as humans. If those areas are seriously are redesigned in a different perspective, then there is a new beginning. We have to be taught every single day. At times, we might be masters in our own school of thought, but at the end of the day, it has to be told every single time. So the new generation has to have this kind of a communication change. And also, I'll just add one small thing which we do in our school. We also run a preschool. So every month we have this uh, plantation program. We just don't take the kids to do the plantation, but we call the experts to the schools and we ask them to speak about those areas. And even during the parent teachers meeting, we call people to understand the environment things at home, as well as how as a parent you can help the kids. So even if you're not able to change the what your current generation, but actually as an individual, I'm already what you're trying to put the small seed around my small community. If I'm able to do that in my community, I'm sure I think the job is done.
Wonderful, wonderful. So taking a cue from that, I just want to go back to Govindarajan sir and request him to talk to us about how sustainability benefits, or how sustainability can be leveraged to benefit the agricultural sector. With a few probably examples, in terms of how companies today are working around those limitations, to bring about a change, to bring about a disruption through sustainability practices.
Oh, very interesting. And the need of the hour topic is agriculture, right? The backbone of our whole country is this agriculture, the farmers. Very important thing right now, the trend, what we see is that there is a kind of a change in the way you cultivate things. We do have a small startup in agriculture, where what we try to do is that we try to collect the information from the farmers in the conferences or in the seminars, wherever we go, and understand what they do. The important thing, what we find is that there are a big difference in what to cultivate, right? They go just by their emotions or what their ancestors did, right? They just go and say, okay, I'm going to just continue with the paddy fields. I'm going to use the pesticides or fertilizers and other stuff. But interestingly, what we have observed is that the reach of this, the information, right? The information through WhatsApp, through the TV and all kind of other things, the kind of a thought process with the farmers, whether I can cultivate something without pesticides and fertilizers. That's what, we call as organic farming, right? What we try. But very important is that many of them started experimenting with that, embracing this organic farming. One reason is that the value it provides the buyers, right? The buyer market here, quite a lot of niche population in the cities. They started embracing the organic vegetables and fruits. So there's a kind of a demand over there. So the demand and supply, right? Obviously, a lot of movement over there. And that's a very interesting trend, actually. We're just going back to the roots again, where we're trying to create a sustainable agriculture, right? See, that's very important. And what to cultivate, where to cultivate, whom all we need to approach to do these things. So that kind of knowledge base is circulating across the farming community, which is helping it to move towards this process, right? Because earlier we had the food revolution, milk revolution. The only goal there is to create as much produce as possible, right? They don't worry about whether it's a good food or right food, whatever it is. You just need to have produce and sell in the market. But at least here, there's a new thinking in place where produce the right food to the right population. This is on the cultivation part also. Now take the food industry itself, right? There's an awareness now. When you go to a mall or you try to supermarket store, you try to look at the content first, what is there, and what expiry date and other stuff. Earlier, it's just more of a packed form. You just sell it across here and there. You don't mind about that thing. But there is quite a lot of awareness there. There are a lot of industries, entrepreneurs who are trying to solve it. Even my close friend who created a big, ecosystem over there where they try to bring back the traditional way of cooking, right? And also, putting those food into the stores, right?
Correct.
I think the policy also have to evolve here. I think that's a lot of gap between the policy there, where it has to evolve. A lot of system and checks should be there to, balance this ecosystem. I think that's very interesting trend which I observed.
Absolutely.
A few thoughts on that.
Right.
Prior to that, I just want to just comment on what Dr. Kumaran said on the
Sure.
Very interesting thing. I mentor quite a lot of people. I go to villages, right, and towns. I identify people who are not, who have scored very well, but couldn't reach out to the corporate community, all those things. I try to fill that gap, part of my thing. I try to bring those kind of people and train them and take them part in my organization just so that they can evolve and grow there. What I found interesting is that the learning process when they grow. This applies not just to the students who are in villages or even the city, right? Each one learn a lot of things. The unconscious minds absorb quite a lot of things, and they think that's the right, and they try to preach it in the decision-making process, actually.
Absolutely.
From the universities and colleges, what I request is that there should be proper kind of a course. I don't know how it can be done. Unlearning should be done first. So you should try to understand what all they learn, and try to unlearn and relearn them, right? And say this is what is needed for the society with respect to the sustainability, even with the DEI, right? I think the interesting talk, we came with gender equality, but I want to have a broader picture here. Diversity, equity, inclusion is very important now. I think even a person can't get into a certain society. I would say a person who come from a village want to get into the corporate job. It takes at least 2 to 3 years to ramp up and start contributing in the communication level. I think that diversity, inclusion, equity should also be practiced well. This all should be part of that unlearning and learning. I would say more of induction or whatever. Something needs to be there. And these youngsters have excellent thought process, excellent energy. We need to channel it to the right, direction. That's how all these university professors, everyone come into picture. I think that's some couple of cents I want to share there, with respect to the student community.
Oh, thank you so much. On that thought, I just wanted to also, share our experience here at Jain University. We have a Kalpavriksh. We have a tree of life with us, who is Dr. Chainraj Royson, our chairman, our chancellor, but more importantly, our very own entrepreneur, right? And over the last 3-4 years, we've been working with him to sustain and develop and, of course, sustain an entrepreneurship ecosystem university-wide. And in line with that, his vision is for all the stakeholders to have an enhanced quality of life. So sustainability entrepreneurship is not just about sustainable practices and focusing on climate change and stuff like that and resolving problems, but it is also how we can enhance the quality of life of the larger population in India. So in that context, his vision is to develop solopreneurs. And this whole idea of solopreneurs comes about because of the impact of the pandemic. So the pandemic actually saw reverse migration happening. The pandemic also saw localization of resources as well as of the economy, where you had people actually coming out to the customer and offering. For example, farmers of Mandya actually loading their produce onto trucks and coming to the cities, to apartment blocks. And so that's another kind of entrepreneurship. And I believe the pandemic did us a lot of good because we started thinking about how we can localize. So panel members, your views on this, and Dr. Chainraj Royson's vision of solopreneurs.
Pandemic has
Manish,
changed the future of work.
Yeah.
Pandemic has definitely changed the future of work.
Correct.
So there are 2 boys who went to pursue their computer science from Stanford and dropped out and started a 10-minute delivery called as Zepto.
Absolutely, Zepto, yes.
So we all know what happened because they all went to pursue their computer science from Stanford, the world's best college.
Yes.
And their motto was, because they had a startup before this called as Kirana Cart.
Right.
And then their story was they had a very difficult time to source vegetables during the pandemic. So the 10-minute delivery, no one thought about it. And then post that, we have now a 10-minute delivery for ambulance service.
Absolutely.
No one thought about it, sir. None of us thought about that. It can be solved in 10 minutes. So the purpose why I'm telling you this is because I'm training those guys. So I know the ecosystem behind it.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Amazing.
So, in my view, the consumer's mindset should change. I think, Dr. Mono, John, when you mentioned that guy from Tungur, even I was coordinating that kind of activity for my apartment, produced from nearby villages, from Nelamangala, Tumkur, all those things. We were able to coordinate and try to bring it to the society and try to
get them together.
See how they can. I mean, we can distribute it here. I think this is very important because I think the pandemic has taught a lot. One of them is that look at around your society, right? You maybe your family or friends, try to give your fullest energy and attention to them, right? And see how you can help to them. I always say this word: always walk together and grow together. First around the society, family, and friends. So that way, we need to look around as a consumer, the available things, right? See how we can support those kind of ecosystem.
Absolutely.
And try to put priority into those things. I sometimes enjoy talking and walking in this Malaysian 8th cross street vendors, right? And just buy a couple of flowers and just these things. Encourage those ecosystems. I think there's a beautiful ecosystem we have. And we should encourage that. I echo your thought. Dr.
Ecosystem. That's a wonderful term.
Very true.
I
just want to add some points to
Manish. Manish.
Somewhere I feel Zepto might be a non-problem, non-solution, but the way they've connected, I feel we can take inspiration from that. Create more and more remote settings in tier 2, tier 3 cities.
Exactly.
100, 200 kilometers range. If we can create that kind of a model and bring in something like the Zoo effect, where Sridhar Vembu, what he's doing in his village, creating tier 2, tier 3 engineers at the facility where they can stay at their home. This is reverse brain drain, and I guess one level more than that. At your own farm, at your own place where you're earning and you're creating things. We don't want people to come inside Bangalore itself. We can create micro hubs within the cities and work on great ideas. And I feel that kind of will give a leverage on so many aspects that would open the doors for multiple things. And somewhere I feel identity, dignifying the local players, dignifying the small vendors by the works they do, dignity through identity, verifying the quality of work they do would be a game changer. Value addition. So these are certain things I feel. Wonderful. Some project which I've worked something on this was Coffee Board. With Coffee Board, we worked on a project where the entire we can say that who is the coffee grower who came in this and how it is sourced for. And end of the day, the coffee growers can get commission as well. Like tipping culture is there even in the US for the farmers. So these kinds of dignity through identity platforms we need to build to bridge the gap. That is one thing which I wanted to say. And grow more on tier 2, tier 3 sectors. Bullish on that untapped area.
Wonderful. So I think we've come a long way in setting the context as well as giving clarity to our participants also on sustainable entrepreneurship and the varied dimensions, the beautiful colors of sustainable entrepreneurship. So my last few requests go out to the participants. If you have a question on what our distinguished panel members have shared, you can probably unmute yourself and ask those questions, or you can put it up on the question and answer segment, and we'll take those questions now. Dr. Megha?
I'm sorry to interrupt, sir. They can't they can't unmute and ask the questions. They can put the questions in the question and answer box.
In the question.
We can pick up the questions from there.
Yes.
So while we're waiting for the questions, I think there's a very important part, Dr. Mono, we need to also understand.
Absolutely,
here, right?
Absolutely.
That is sustainability of the sustainable entrepreneurship. So
that's what term oxymoron, I suppose.
So the reason is that any entrepreneurship
itself is a challenge. For example, we have this Swachh Bharat mission, Clean India mission, and to taking it forward to the remotest corners is a major challenge, you know. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah.
While we await.
Yeah, while we take the question, the interesting part, what you say, just my experience, I want to share any entrepreneurship journey, because we incubated more than 4+ startups in our center. The important part we feel is the idea. First, the idea comes into picture. Then you nurture the idea, and then you try to go and start implementing how it can be a problem solver to whatever disruption you're going to create.
Right.
Success rate, if you take of any such thing, is very minimal. I think less than 10% is the success rate, I would say.
Absolutely.
That's for, I'm not talking about any sustainable entrepreneurship related ideas or something, even a general idea for any entrepreneurship.
What could be the reasons for that?
The reason is more on the adoption, right? It's all assumptions. We think that this will be solving the problem. I think there's a lot of jokes comes around. Just an example, probably many of them aware that there was a space mission. A country wanted to, one of the space mission, they want to do something to write there. They reinvented the pen to write there. Another country took a pencil and did solve the problem. It's how you solve the problem matters, actually, right? And again, I say, everyone, simplicity is very important. You don't need a machine gun to kill a mosquito. As simple as that. So see whether you're using the right tools and technology to solve a problem. The third is the founders community itself, right? Are you part of a proper founders community? Do you have a proper mentor? How networked you are? I think that's another big definition which comes into it. I tell all my startup founders, HNI means not high net worth individual, high network individual.
High network individual.
So,
not network.
So I think these are the factors which comes, I think more than anything, the attitude, right? How fast you can come to the market, how good you are in solving the problems. Time to market is very, very important.
Wonderful.
And I think these are some of the parameters I see that it affects the success rate of
Absolutely.
I'll just add to that.
Yes, Kumar.
Very critical area of entrepreneurship. In fact, moving from a corporate job and starting an entity, and the three things which we generally follow is first thing, as a company, we should have an approach of customer for life. To onboard a customer, there is a price when you onboard a customer. But make sure you're going to have this customer for life. So any organization is successful when you have this approach, because the second time you're going to onboard the customer, there is no price. Third thing, ethical working. Today, I think we had a wonderful session. First and foremost, I think the one culture as a system we need to look at is ethical working, because ethical working is a very large subject. But if you're going to be doing things ethical in a very small way, doesn't matter, you don't do it in a big way. Ethical, what you value, ethical working is very critical. Last but not the least, for example, today, Jain School of Commerce is a brand. Okay, when you say education, it's a brand. So any organization to start with, okay, they all almost start at a ground level zero. So creating a brand value becomes very critical for an entrepreneur. So I see these are the three critical things. If you're able to put things in place on a daily basis and practice it, I'm sure you're going to grow as a stronger entity.
Yeah. Wonderful. That's perfectly right. Primarily because when we talk about sustainability of sustainable practices, we as Govindarajan sir said, and as reiterated by Kumaran sir, simplicity is best. You start small, you start simple, and you look at or focus on the solution to the problem. I think we'll do it right. We'll continue to do it right. Yes. Govindarajan sir, you need to unmute yourself. Govindarajan sir.
Yeah.
You were saying something.
Purpose, like purpose-driven.
Yes. It has to be purpose-driven.
Yeah, because since you told me about the millennials, right? Millennials are purely driven by purpose.
Absolutely. And when you look at India-specific challenges, there are a huge set of challenges that demand sustainable practices. One is, of course, the scarcity of water. clean drinking water, the fact that our rivers are polluted. Secondly, air pollution. You know, every year you have Delhi and adjoining areas waking up to air pollution because of the burning of waste from the cultivated land. Then how do we go about increasing energy efficiency? Energy from all kinds of sources, you know, basic energy, but also renewable energy. You know, how much, for example, India is known to have the maximum sunlight exposure, but how best are we using solar energy, and how are we leveraging that as a distinct advantage as a country? So final thoughts on that.
As see, especially with respect to the renewable energy, let's say in general, I think quite massive things are happening around, right? I think there's a lot of focus going on in solar energy, wind energy, even hydrogen. We have seen recently that hydrogen being also be tested, hydrogen buses are there, hydrogen cars being tested. A lot of alternative energy related research and development is happening. What is lacking over there is that you have a lot of solar farms, you have wind farms and other things, but there is not a proper technology, because these are very important resources which are available with a restricted time, right? How to efficiently use those resources. So right now technology should join hand with this energy companies, energy consultants or whatever,
Correct.
try to see how they can optimize these things, right?
Absolutely.
One of our product, what we're trying to do is that we're trying to reduce the operation cost by 40%, actually. The reason is that we can't have any failures when the energy is being produced, right? Because this is very scarce resources. We can't go and interrupt during the daytime when the solar power is being generated.
Correct.
We should ensure that preventive maintenance is done. How preventive maintenance can be, it's all now more of legacy way of being done. We should adopt AML models to try to predict. There's drones flying around on the solar farms, you know,
Absolutely.
checking out where there is dust on a day-to-day basis. And
Right.
when dust is there, it automatically initiates a cleaning process for that panels so that efficiency of the panels increase. Some of our algorithms in AI models, what we try to do is we increase the efficiency of energy produced from these solar panels by 20% by doing such kind of maintenance process using the technology. I think technology should also join hand and try to do these things. And even the solar farms and other big providers, right? Industries should also adopt, try to be willing to adopt those kind of technologies.
Right. Govindra's well said, primarily because as a closing thought, I think for each one of us participating in this event is the unambiguous, clear-cut need to leverage technology and use it to our advantage to sustain value creation for society, economic upliftment, as well as environmental protection. So final thoughts also from Kumaran sir, Manish sir, and Rakesh sir.
Yeah, once again, thanks CMS Group for this wonderful opportunity. So I think Govindarajan was able to touch upon the solar and the alternate energy thing. I do not want to touch upon that. But nevertheless, we live in a city called Bangalore. So do we require AC to run our office? For example, a few months back, we were all in Chennai. So there was a conference going on. Everybody were actually wearing a blazer. It was actually hot and hot and hot. And there was a room temperature of almost close to the AC was at 17 degrees. And it was actually very what a comical that everybody were wearing a blazer and we were sitting. So I'm saying in terms of electricity and power is concerned, or alternate energy is concerned, more than innovating the new things, we could actually see how we can minimize the way that we use electricity as a common product we do. We are at home. though we have a fantastic daylight all across the house, but still we actually use our lights. So how do we want to minimize that? So a basic sense of usage of electricity, I think that's a best beginning to start with. And lastly, I think we always say walk the talk. I think you should, be a setting example. So till 6:37, we don't on our lights at home, or we also avoid certain things in the office. So a small contribution from our end. Okay, when we talk about this aspects, so we should be setting examples. So that's my view. And once again, thanks Jain Group for this wonderful opportunity, and looking forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Manish, sir. Manish, sir, Rakesh, sir. Yeah. Just a final word from both of you.
Yeah, definitely a great takeaways I had during the sessions, and some of which I will take is one killer takeaway which I had was when sir mentioned how can you ensure a sustainable startup to be sustainable in real life. So that is one thing in multiple layers through sustainable practices or keeping financial sustainable. So sleeping with that dot would be a very good idea. And something I feel all of us can do with this session is that try to take more conscious decisions. And while we have an opportunity to buy certain like 2 products, let's focus on the one which is more sustainable driven. Let's try to work with align with companies who work on sustainable front, and more or less it's the need of the hour. So I feel that personally we need to dig in more and more, and these kinds of activities should be amplified to a larger extent. People can get more and more information and take actions as well. So
Absolutely.
On those lines, happy to connect, happy to work with any of the students who would love to know more on this and learn as well. And thank you so much, sir, for having me.
Thank you so much for being here with us. Rakesh, you need to unmute, Rakesh.
Thanks, Professor. Thank you so much for hosting me and then interacting with literally the world's best people, right? I mean, what happens is our mindset gets improved.
Absolutely.
So I believe in one concept wherein you need to work with people who are smarter than you.
Right.
And if you're in a room, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So if you're in a room full of smart people, then you're in the wrong room.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much.
One more point, if you allow me to just add on.
Yes, Govindra.
I think since I said this is something very emerging, very interesting, the must and most needed topic. There are a lot of research paper available on entrepreneurship, but not on the sustainable entrepreneurship.
Yes.
I think the research community should be encouraged to write more papers on that, so that people they don't try to swim without any direction. At least they have some kind of direction and available statistics or information which will guide them to make that sustainable industry successful.
Absolutely.
So a few cents from me on this. And thanks a lot to Jain School of Commerce, Dr. Manoj Jain, Dr. Megha Karod, the entire team, for coordinating. I think it's such a beautiful session.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I'll also take your leave. Thank you so much for that brilliant, insights that you have all brought to this conference. I hope we take away these small insights, but wonderful, brilliant insights to make life better, not just for us, but for our family as well as society at large. Thank you so much. Dr. Sharmila, Dr. Megha.
Thank you so much, Dr. Monu, and all the panelists. It was a session which gave us a lot of insight about the strategies and tactics for sustainable entrepreneurship through ethical working. So, dear participants, I don't see any of the further questions, and the questions which were posted by you all are being answered by the panelists. So the feedback link is being sent on the chat box. You all are requested to fill and submit it by the end of the session. And on behalf of Faculty Research Cell Samshodhana, School of Commerce, Jain Deemed to be University, I deem it my privilege to thank and extend a heartfelt gratitude to the mentor and panel speaker for spending your valuable time and enriching the session and knowledge of the participants. Dear participants, we'll now break for 30 minutes. Post lunch, the participants and the paper presentators are requested to join the technical session. The research paper presentation by 1 p.m. With the respective tracks. The Zoom links for the same is available in the track sheet. I also request all the participants to join for valedictory session at 3 p.m. where the best papers will be announced. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks a
I'll
lot.
stay connected with each one of you. I'm going to get in touch with all of you. Rakesh, Kumaran sir, Govindrajan sir, Manish sir, and Vaishnavi. I'm going to get in touch with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Wonderful. I hope you liked it.
Definitely. Loved it. Not like it, loved it.
Thank you.
Great moderating.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Truly
Bye.
enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot.
We'll keep in touch.
Wonderful day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Megha ma'am, I'll take your leave.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Meeting in the very